What's up, everybody? It's your boy Showtimedr. So this is going to be your table guide. The table guide means that all the heroes that are available, for those who don't know, eventually from this table in the corner over here, you click on it. There's going to be a bunch of heroes. They're going to unlock slowly and a bunch of quests. You're going to pretty much get Aether right off. The only problem I have is I cannot find a translated version of this hero, so I got no idea about this hero. So if anyone knows what the hell this hero is, what the name is, also if you happen to have their skills, if you have some experience with them, let me know. Put it in the comments, and we can make a judgment on them from there. But full disclosure, I haven't unlocked every hero. I don't know every hero. I fought against many of them, the ones that I don't have, but we are pretty much just going to be winging it on reading their skills and making a determination as to whether they're any good or not. So go ahead. And of course, when I click out of a screen, it freaking resets. Hold on. I had to restart this because it was deciding it wasn't going to work. Alright, I guess that's good enough. So let's do this. So this is Lorena. Lorena, to be perfectly honest, I haven't seen much of, so let's go ahead and get into her skills. Keep in mind that she is a Dark Warrior. Starts at 3-star. And also, one thing to clarify for some of you guys, on the typical summons in this game, you're not going to get a light hero or a dark hero. They are locked for the most part. You can get them from like tables and stuff like that. But for the most part, they are at the Moonlight Summon. So after you beat stage 1010 in the normal story mode, then you unlock Moonlight Summons and you can start to get the inverse units of all the characters. So, but let's get into it here. So on her 1, Lorena attacks the enemy target with a spear, increasing her action gauge by 20%. Okay. And all the upgrades are damage increases rather. And she's a warrior. It looks like if you can get her with some co-op attack, but I don't think there's any warrior co-op attack relics. So that's too bad. Otherwise, she could just bump up her action gauge like crazy. Maybe with counter, maybe that would be the play. She would be the first person. We'll see. Let's see what else she has here. Increase your attack power by 10% every time you attack. Ooh. Oh. Okay. So stacks up to 5 times. Even without upgrades, that'll be eventually a 50% attack increase. Wow, that's actually pretty strong. Your typical attack buff in this game, guys, I believe it's about 30%. So, and she can have that on her as well, I'm assuming. Possibly. Sometimes things don't stack. And then if you upgrade it all the way, you get a 0.5%, 2%, so that's 3%, and 5%. So that would go 15% 5 times, which would end up with 75% buff. That's pretty strong, I gotta admit, that's pretty strong when you add in action gauge 20, so she's hasting her turn by 20%. That's pretty strong there. 3, 4-turn cooldown. That is, does this not have a, oh, it's a passive. Okay, that's a passive, not a skill. Gotcha. Alright, so her 3, Lorena jumps into the air and attacks the enemy target with a falling spear strike. The damage increases proportionally to the target's lost health, so she's a finisher then. Interesting. Wow, that's actually fairly strong for a 3-star table unit. I might have to take a look at her, because one of the issues in this game is light and dark, you know, they do bonus damage to each other, but it's kind of hard to get a good dark hero early game so that you could go into like the trials, if you gotta fight a big light boss or whatever and go wreck them. But this character would work pretty well, assuming you can keep him protected. You can get it to 3-turn cooldown, and if you soul consume it, the damage increases. So she's just purely a DPS unit. Reminds me a little bit of Karen, just in a different light. So I'd say that's actually pretty decent. Still wouldn't put her at out of all the heroes you want to give, but if you happen to get her and you feel like building her up, it's not a bad choice. So Lorena's pretty cool. That's what I like about this game too, is the epic things in this game, like the 5-star units and the really good gear, all of it's like super amazing, just as it should be, you know? Like for those of you that played Diablo 2 versus Diablo 3, think about Diablo 2, how like the set items and the relic gear and ancient gear and really high runes and all that were like amazing. And in Diablo 3, you know, you'll go on a quest run and like 10 legendaries will drop and you'll sift through them all and they're all like freaking garbage. And it's just like, so that's the cool thing about this game, is that the legendary stuff is still cool and really far out there, but the basic stuff can still be good if you want to use it, so that's pretty cool. Alright, let's get into Hazel here. So Miss Hazel, I unlocked her, I never really used her that much. Let's see. Oh, real quick before we get into that, she is a fire spirit user. So there we go. Hazel attacks the enemy with a magical power of flame. 30% chance to inflict disturb HP recovery. That's basically blocks healing for 2 turns on a 1. Okay. And you can get the chance increased with upgrades to 50%. Alright, emergency recovery on her 2. Heals the target in proportion to your attack power. Oh, interesting. If the target's health is less than half, the amount of recovery increases by 1.5. Okay, so the more damage she has. That's the same as Aether, by the way. Aether does a similar thing. We'll get to Aether later. She's in here. Alright, so then you upgrade it, increases recovery. Interesting. Alright, and then her 3, heals all allies and increase attack power for 2 turns. Wonder if that means just her attack power, or all people's attack power. Probably her attack power, I would guess. The amount of recovery is proportional to your attack power. If anyone knows that, if you guys end up using Hazel, is her attack buff go on everybody? Because if so, an AoE heal attack power buff on a 4-turn cooldown. And you could burn it for a cooldown decrease to 2 turns. That's actually fairly strong. And then upgrade it passively to make it almost a 1-turn cooldown. Or a 1-turn cooldown, rather. Pretty good, pretty good. So I gotta say, so if you didn't feel like following my guide, maybe you rerolled, you got like a says something else combo or whatever, Hazel's gonna be a pretty good healer for you. You know, your choices are going to be between Hazel, Aether, and Elson, as far as I know. Which we'll get into Elson next, but Hazel seems like a pretty good alternative there. Alright, Elson. Elson is one guy I used, and I gotta say, very effective character here. So you know, it's a light healer. So let's get started. Elson, on his 1, single target attack, 50% chance to reduce damage for a turn. I believe the damage reduction is 30%. Not sure quite on that. And if you upgrade it, you can eventually get it to 85% chance. Oh my bad, 75% chance. So the damage on it's never going to be that great. Unless for whatever reason you're running attack power Elson. But that attack down's pretty cool. He does that with his follow-up. All follow-ups in this game are on their 1s. So his 2 is an AoE damage that also does a AoE heal for your allies, and the recovery is proportional to his maximum health. Really good skill, actually. The only issue with it is the 4-turn cooldown. It kind of feels like it should be 3 turns because it's not a super crazy heal, but it's still a pretty good heal. So, and then his 3. This is why you bring him most of the time. He has an AoE buff, increases attack power and defense for 2 turns. You have to get one of the purple stars. One of them's missing until you get his 3rd purple star, and then it starts putting up defense or attack, whichever one it is. So that's pretty good. You can soul burn it. It'll increase the buff duration by 1. So pretty strong considering it's a 4-turn cooldown. You can eventually get it to 3 turns. Although I gotta tell you guys, enhancing 3-star skills in this game for most characters is a gigantic pain in the ass, like the materials you need for it. In fact, maybe I should make a video about that. I'm just not 1000% sure because I didn't go too hard on it, because the time you gotta invest in it is crazy. but you know, that's the way these games work. So Elson's a really solid hero. I recommend you guys unlock him ASAP when you get the quest form. He's a pretty damn good hero. He's great as a secondary support. Like you could run, say, an Akates in him, or if you got what's her name, the tank, Armin. You can run Armin in him and it should be fine because Armin has a heal on her 3. Elson's got a heal on his 2. In most cases, it'll be fine for most content you do, but stuff like that, just consider. Now, Alexa, I had like 8 copies of her at one point. I think I ended up sacking them. That turned out to be a mistake because Alexa is actually a boss killer, apparently. So let's get into her skills. Keep in mind, Rogue Water. So, lots of Rogue Waters in this game. Zez is. I believe also Karen is. She might be a different element, but I think she's water. But let's get into it. So on her 1 for Alexa, attacks the enemy with a double sword. Add an additional attack occurs when a critical strike occurs. Additional attack can happen only once per turn, so that is going to be her follow-up attack, guys. So if you can get her with a good amount of crit strike chance, she's going to get extra attacks on her 1. So that's pretty good. Upgrade is damage increases on her 2. And this is your soul burn skill, cooldown of 3 turns. Attacks enemies with cold knives, causing 2 poisoning effects for 2 turns each, with an 80% chance to increase your axe engage by 30%. Oh, interesting. Soul burn, ignore enemy effect resistance. Oh, I missed that the last time I looked at her. That's crazy. So you can effectively ignore all resistance and you always have an 80% chance. And if you eventually increase it, 100% chance. Crazy. Because that's Kyrus's only issue, is that if she's attacking, because Kyrus is grass, if Kyrus is attacking someone that's fire, she has less of a chance to put it on just because of the innate elemental resistances. But in this case, if you can burn this, I mean, what's it? It's 1 burn, so 1 stack. Oh, my fault. It's I didn't mean to do that, my bad. So soul burn, consumption, it's 2. Okay, never mind. Okay, well, poisoning, for those who don't know, poisoning is actually really good against bosses in this game. It ticks for max health. So if you can get, like, this girl and Kyrus and some of the other boss-killing characters in this game, get your dots up, that's going to do so much damage, even more damage than, like, someone with really high attack can do in most cases. Early game, you know, early game. And consistently throughout the game as well. And there's only a few exceptions, like some bosses cleanse themselves every turn, etc. So that's pretty strong, and she's increasing her action gauge. Wow, this hero's actually pretty OP. Pretty underrated. I mean, early game underrated, boss character underrated. And if you can ignore defense, that means that you can even attack grass characters and consistently get your poison effects off, assuming you have the souls to burn. Oh, it's pretty strong. I might have to actually build her semi-early. Alright, so, and then her ultimate, overpowering strike, 5-turn cooldown. Oh, what's the cooldown on this? 3 turns, okay. Attacks the target in succession, damage increases proportionally to the number of weakening effects the target has, so... I don't know if that counts dots when it says weakening effects, but I believe it does, because I believe weakening effects by this game's, like, staff or whatever, that's just debuffs. So it's not saying dots, it's not saying, like, attack downs or stuns or whatever, it's just everything. I've never seen it separated, so that's pretty cool. And then you upgrade, you know, more damage, cooldown reduction eventually. Okay, yeah, I could see her as a boss killer. So there you go, guys. If you're having issues with, like, the Eternal Tower bosses and stuff, Alexa's actually not a bad hero to invest in for that. So Ether, Prince Ether, you're going to keep in mind this is a water healer. This is actually the healer that everyone gets in the game. Like, instantly once the table opens up, the tutorial quest is unlock Ether. So Even if for whatever reason you come out of your rerolls with no heroes, you're always going to have Ether. So, show you what Ether's capable of. His one, by attacking enemies with the power of the element. Wait, what? Causes a 25% of slowing down for 2 turns. I guess the translation's a little off there, but basically, I believe that means you have a 25% chance to slow down the turn speed of whatever you're attacking. Not sure, because that kind of hints at element, like he can adjust elements, but I don't think that's the case. No idea what that sound was. Whatever. The hell was that sound? Yeah, whatever. Alright, so on Ethers 2, Guardian. Restore friendly target with the energy of water. The amount of recovery is proportional to your attack speed. So once again, this is another attack speed healer like Hazel was. Destina and Ekatus, they heal in proportion to their max health. So depending on the healer you got to gear them differently. Be aware of that. And then you can increase recovery amount with upgrades. Now, Aethers 3. Restore all friendly targets with the power of the elements and create a shield for 2 turns. The amount of recovery and shield increases proportionally to your attack power. So unlike someone like an Armin, where they have a similar skill, but the shield is based on her armor and the heal is based on her health, in this case, you can just pump Aether's attack power and it'll proportionally increase both. And from what I saw in that dev introduction video, can get fairly tanky, the shield and the, well, the shield itself, along with the heal helping your team. So, if you're going to build this character, if that's the healer that you got, this is, make sure you build her for him for attack power. I still tripped out when I found out this was a guy. I was like, no way. Because there's another game I play, Knight's Chronicle, where like it's kind of obvious sometimes, but sometimes it's not. But this character, I was like, how can that be a girl? But it's the way of the world. Now Silk, I've told you guys about Silk before, but we'll go over her real quick. Keep in mind, 4-star Grass Archer. Super good, by the way. Unlock Silk ASAP. Silk's one of the most annoying characters to unlock though, because you have to kill bugs. And I forget where the bugs were. It's in like a, most of them are in a particular zone. It was like 4 or 6 or something like that. Anyways, her one, attack enemies with arrows to reduce action gauge by 7%. Damage increases proportional to her speed, so you're building her for speed. Also, you're pushing back turn generation for whatever you're targeting. And also, since she's an archer, she can get that card. It should be available in the first event, the launch event, where she's going to get an increased chance to do co-op attacks and do more damage with her co-op attacks. So make sure you get that card for her. Goes really well on her because she's going to be hitting more and she's going to be pushing back action gauge more of whatever you're targeting. So that's pretty cool. And then her 2, this is a passive, self-stacking buff concentration. When she gets 2, a shot will be strengthened with continuous shot. They never give the percentage to continuous shot. That is a theme, by the way, guys, with the developers. They've said that they don't want to give percentages for certain things because they don't want hard tier lists to be made for this game. Of course, people are going to make them anyways, but this game's actually really good at kind of sneaking up. You didn't realize how useful this character could be, you know, in these certain scenarios or whatever. But anyways, and then all the upgrades are continuous shot gets a further damage boost. Now, her 3, this is why you bring her, creates a wind attack that attacks all enemies, causing an 80% chance of slowing down for 2 turns and increases speed for allies for 2 turns. So, AoE attack hits pretty hard, scales with speed. Has an 80% chance to slow the enemy's turn speed generation by, I believe it's 30%. Simultaneously will AoE buff your team's turn speed for 2 turns by 30%. The chance to put on the snare is 80%, but the actual debuff, I believe, is 30%. And then it's just a really awesome ult, guys. So, also, I missed her soul burn earlier. If you soul burn with her, it's going to go on her 2. It takes 2 or 20 soul burn consumptions. I just say 2 because 10 is basically 1 on the chart. And you can just use her one, she instantly gets another turn. So in rare cases, there are some bosses in this game where they will do like a big shield or something like that, and you'll see their turn coming really slowly, and you'll be taking like 2 or 3 turns in between their turn. That is bad, because if they get to 100% and that damage shield is still up, or whatever contingency is still going on, that means that there's a big fuck you move coming. So in that case, someone like Silk is actually pretty good with their one, because push turn back, push turn back, because they're generating their turn much slower. So 7%, where it's normally pretty fast, is actually pretty slow at that point. Now, granted, you're probably going to want those souls for, you know, higher damage moves or summons or whatever, but in case people are stunned or whatever's going on, you always have that option, guys, so always consider that option. Now, Maya is one character I did not use, so I'm curious about her. They have 4-star fire tank. Okay. So let's see. Maya wields a blunt weapon to attack the enemy with a 25% chance to stun the enemy target for a turn. Damage increases proportionally to your defense. Okay, so that's fairly similar to Armin's one, except Armin's one does additional stun chance the more debuffs are on a target. But still pretty good skill there. 2, Maya wields a shield to attack the enemy with an 80% chance to stun the enemy for 1 turn. And if you soul burn it, the skill cooldown decreases by 2 turns, and it's already on a 3-turn cooldown, so... And it's a 1 soul burn. So you can essentially chain this if you want at a pretty high stun rate. Eventually upgrade it to 100% down here. Pretty good, pretty good. So you could really destroy like grass stuff with that, because a lot of bosses in this game, guys, can be stunned. Not all of them, but a lot of them can. It's actually pretty cool to see, because it's really hard to abuse a stun mechanic in this game. So, Cry of Fraud. Maya gives a battle cry with a 35% chance to provoke all enemies. So you guys that were asking me about taunts, there it is right there. But as you see, it's a chance. It's not, you know, 1000%. It is a chance. So, and reduce damage for 1 turn. Increases defense of all allies for 2 turns. That's not bad, actually, for a tank. So if you happen to get, like, to mid-game, guys, and you don't have a tank going on, this isn't a super bad option right here. And then you can eventually cooldown reduction, 6-turn cooldown to 5, and then increase the chance for the provoke to 50%. That's actually not bad. Not super bad there. Plus a defense buff for everybody for 2 turns. Okay, I'll keep her in mind if I don't happen to get a good tank. Not bad. Alright, on to crows. Crows. Caw-caw, caw-caw. If you were born after the 1990s, go watch the Crow movie. But don't watch the second one. Alright, let's go. So, Craze attacks the enemy with a sword that causes a 50% chance to reduce armor for 1 turn. Damage increases proportionally to your defense. This is also a tank, a 4-star water tank. And you can get that reduction to 75% chance. On a 1, that's actually fairly strong. The only one I've seen that's better is, oh, I always freaking forget her name. The girl with all the swords that floats around, Elise or whatever. Whatever the hell her name is, she can do a 2-turn armor reduction on her 1. But still, this is pretty good for a tank. Shield of Protection, cooldown 2 turns. If an ally is attacked, and the ally's health is less than 50%, a shield is created for that ally. Shield increases proportionally to the target's maximum health. This effect occurs only once per turn. Oh, interesting. So it's like damage absorption passively. But it says it has a 2-turn cooldown. That's weird. And that's still cool. I mean, that's mitigation. That's still pretty cool. That'd be super annoying if that was like no cooldown, but still a decent skill. And then break through the front for his 3, 6-turn cooldown. Attack the enemy and reduce the action gauge by 50%. Damage increases proportionally to your defense. Soul burn, damage increases. Yeah, I don't know. I've heard that he can actually do decent damage, but never got to see it in action for myself. And there's what all the upgrades do. So that's interesting. Okay, well, here's another tanking option then. So let's see. So, the other girl we just went over, Maya, I believe was her name. Yeah, she is a fire tank, so this is a water tank. Like I say, guys, elemental resistances do play a huge factor in this game, so... But, you know, you only have so many resources to bring up so many guys. But keep him in mind, maybe send him on those missions where you get the passive XP. And, you know, maybe one of these days you'll end up busting one of these characters out, depending on how your gearing and your draw rates are going. Alright, so, Yuna. Yuna is a very underrated character, actually. I actually think she's super good. She is 5-star when you get her, but she's actually fairly easy to get, which is pretty funny as a 5-star unit for the table quest. So, and I say fairly easy, not like super easy, but considering what she's capable of, she's pretty easy. So on her 1, homing laser, Yuna attacks all enemies with a drone. Damage increases as number of enemy targets decreases, so keep that in mind. And then you can soul burn it, damage will increase even more. And all the upgrades increase damage. So her 2 upgrade, drones strengthen and all ally units, increasing attack power and speed for 2 turns. Pretty good buff for PvP, actually. You know, more attack, more speed, what do you want? 2 turns, 5-turn cooldown though. You can upgrade it for cooldown reduction. Pretty good buff there. And then her 3, meteor cannon, a huge and powerful cannon attack the enemy. That attacks the enemy, rather, and deals great damage. Great damage. You're great. So actually, yeah, I'm mocking this, but this actually does hit really hard if she gets it going. Plus, there's a panty shot in the ultimate, so there is that. What? Yuna's love and affection makes her understand the machine well. Really? So, Yuna's actually a really good hero, guys, for DPS. So, she is an archer hero, so you can get her with that relic that increases follow-up attack. And apparently do a decent amount of damage with it all, so... One of my recommended heroes to build up. Actually, pretty good hero there, considering it's a free hero. Now, Carthiel. This guy, he is a warrior, 4-star warrior, grass. Let's check it out. Tearing Claws. Karthus attacks the enemy with sharp claws at a 35% chance to reduce armor for 2 turns. Oh, interesting. So he is another 2-turn armor reduction guy on his 1. Damage increases proportionally to your max health. So a DPS with damage that increases by max health. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Prepared for danger. Da-da-da! Karthos action gauge increases by 10% when hit. If your health is less than half, action gauge will be decreased by an additional 10%. Okay, so basically, whenever he's getting hit, he's getting hasted a bit, his turn order. Cool, as a passive. 3, Roar of a Predator. Kartuha attacks all enemies with the energy of the wild, with a 50% chance to reduce attack power. Recovers his health in proportion to the damage dealt. Damage increases proportionally to your maximum health. If your health is less than half the damage, will increase. Oh, my bad. If your health is less than half, comma, damage will increase additionally. Commas are very important. Yeah, reduction of attack power, considering he's also reducing defense with his 1. That's pretty strong. And he recovers his health, so this is actually a heal as well on a 6-turn cooldown. Damage increases proportionally to your maximum health, upgrade, cooldown reduction, and increased chance for debuff. Wow, he's stronger than I thought he'd be. Okay. So that's the cool thing about this game, guys, is you can look at all these heroes that you might not necessarily, like, they're not 5-star, but can be useful still. So that's the thing I enjoy about this game. But we've gone through all of the, except for the one I couldn't identify, we've gone through all of the table heroes, so hopefully this guide helps you out. It actually opened my eyes a little bit as to what these characters are capable of. And yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that. So I might as well do my promo mumbo jumbo. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Ah! Yo, I'm Showtime Doctor, Showtimedr. You found my YouTube. Hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Also, if you go and look in the title information, there is a link to my Discord there. Come on in. Everyone's hyped for Epic 7 launching later today. Should be very fun. And then also there's a link to my Twitch there, twitch.tv/ShowtimeDR. Come on by. I'll be streaming this later on when launch hits, and hopefully it won't be too laggy, etc. But we'll suffer through it. I'm going to do my summon rerolls. Hopefully get it done tonight. You never know how it's going to go, but hopefully we'll get it done tonight. And yeah, so I'll catch you guys later on. Enjoy your day. Peace out.